Brief update before we get into the shiur. Be'ezrat Hashem, we've confirmed on the schedule that the next big event, Be'ezrat Hashem, is going to be in a few weeks on March 23rd here in Florida, South Florida, at the same location, the Bonaventure Resort. Baruch Hashem, the last couple of events were exceptional. There's a bunch of people that wanted to come from New York, from California, from different places that didn't make it yet and are assuring us that they're going to come this time. I'm hoping that everybody that already came and everyone that hasn't come will pack the place up, Be'ezrat Hashem, and so we can get some chizuk right at the right time, Be'ezrat Hashem, because we're talking about right at a time where we're in between Purim and Pesach, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we got salvation, we're going to another salvation, but we're also in a world that's looking for salvation. So Be'ezrat Hashem will learn what we need to learn, get the chizuk that we need to get in order to put ourselves in the right mindset, Be'ezrat Hashem. So that's one. Secondly, there's going to be a new campaign, Be'ezrat Hashem, that's going to be launched, Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully by the next day or so, to continue helping the poor. I already sent some money today to help a bunch of people, Baruch Hashem, in Tel Zion, and we have quite a few people in Eretz Yisrael that need help, avrechim, different special Jewish neshamot that simply cannot make it through the month on a regular basis, needless to say, during the holidays. Each year we do several campaigns specifically to help the poor. Now more than ever we need your help because for a few reasons. Number one, it's the cost of everything. For anyone that follows Israeli news, the cost of everything in Israel has skyrocketed to the point where people are refraining from buying things like soda and yogurt and a lot of different goods that simply have become unaffordable. Vegetables have skyrocketed, and of course the anti-Torah, lefty, liberal government is the reason. For anyone that's looking for the reason behind it, it's the biggest reason is the fact that this anti-Torah Zionist government wrote a check, or is writing a check on a regular basis, for 53 billion shekels to give to the terrorist Palestinians, just for them not to bomb us, even though they're bombing us anyway, just for them not to be terrorists, even though they're being terrorists anyway, but yet they're getting paid 53 billion for that, okay? And since somebody has to pay for it, they're taxing their own people. And of course, the people that are already struggling and even the people that are middle class are the ones that are suffering the most, not only because the cost of food has literally skyrocketed, in many cases has doubled in price, tripled in price, unbelievable prices. Some people tell me how much some stuff costs there to get a basic goods to eat is become unaffordable for many people. Even people that have 2 or 3 jobs. It's become a nightmare for a lot of people, and Be'ezrat Hashem, this will be a tool that Hashem uses to uproot this evil government, but in the meantime, the people that have already been struggling are struggling a lot more. And I know that a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon to donate to Ukraine and to different people that are in Ukraine right now. And by all means, everybody can do whatever they want with their money. It's your money you could do what you want with, but I can assure you that there is already plenty of money going to that cause, and very, very little money is going to the poor people in Eretz Yisrael. And quite frankly, there's also a lot of corruption, in the donation world, and many times the money doesn't reach its destination, and a mevin yavin. So everybody that's donating, a few people have asked me, should I donate to this campaign? I told them if I had $1 million, I wouldn't give them $1. I wouldn't give them $1 to some of these campaigns. Why? Because it's simply there's a lot of things are fishy, and let's just put it that way. A lot of things are fishy as far as whether they need it, they don't need it, whether it's really going to the right place, not going to the right place, and also because there are people that we know are in desperate need, that we know who they are, and are struggling nonetheless. So again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from donating if you know that you're donating to the right place. It's just that what I do know is that people are very naive. They're good-hearted, and their good heart leads them to become naive, and they think that any campaign that's on the internet means, and there's some religious figure behind it, some rabbi that you've never heard of in your life, some community that you don't even know how to pronounce their name, but they're able to raise $1 million, $2 million, $5 million in a matter of a few days. And quite frankly, it's not something that I could ever encourage the people that I care about to do. So with that being the case, be cautious, with the money that you're donating, because this is the only money you really have. Whatever you donate is what you truly have to take with you to Olam Haba. And if you're donating blindly and hoping that God's going to make it work, that's not the way it works. You have to do your due diligence. You have to be careful and conscious of things. And again, like I said, it's the issues today are much bigger than just money. It's much bigger than just money. So a lot of people are asking the whole issue of what's going on with this war. What's the opinion? And I think that it's worth it to cover a couple of things that we didn't cover in a previous shiur, which our FAIM discussed, and I'll elaborate on it further in regards to this war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, years ago, there was a special Jew that had Yirat Shamayim, that served the Kadosh Baruch Hu to the best of his abilities while also working. He had a flour mill, and this special Jew, his name was Israel, Israel in Hebrew, in English. This Israel was a wonderful person, very giving. Each day he'd wake up, go to synagogue, pray. After that, he'd learn some Torah, and then after that, he'd go to work to try to make a living. Now, his flour mill was doing well. People would buy the flour from him. And in that very same town, they had, this is in Ukraine, by the way, hence the reason of why I'm mentioning this. In that same town, there was a very wealthy poet, a squire, that was famously anti-Semitic. And he had more money than he knows what to do with. And he lived close by to where the flour mill of Israel was. One day, he decided that the fact that this Jew is succeeding is simply too bothersome to him. He has to get his nose stuck in there. He has to get involved. He has to do whatever he can to ruin his business. And that's what he set out to do. He called some of his workers, his managers over. He told them, listen, I want you to go to Germany, order me the best machines in the world, deliver them over here. I'm going to build a flour mill that is going to produce better quality flour at half the price. And that's what they did. This is a true story, by the way. It's not a story I'm making up for the sake of the shiur. Now, this poet was happy, was already, one of those evil types of people, rubbing his hands, can't wait to destroy Israel's flour mill. And word got around that this is what's going to happen, that this new flour mill is being built, these new machines were delivered, and Israel's business is on the verge of collapse before this thing even started, because while everybody is a customer of Israel for a long time, if they give you better quality flour for half the price, very few customers, if any, are going to stand. especially since this is a land of non-Jews. So the non-Jews were celebrating with the squire, with the poets, happy that a Jew is going to get destroyed. And of course, the Jews were sad for their fellow Jew, but what can they possibly do? Israel was concerned, but like a Jew does, what do you do when you're in trouble? You go to your rabbi. You go to your rabbi. His rabbi was the Rebbe Michotkov. Rebbe Michotkov was a big tzaddik. His name was Rabbi David Moshe Friedman. Lived about 170 years ago or so. And the Rebbe Michotkov, he started Chassidut Chotkov. He was the fourth generation grandson from the Magid Mimezrich, the Talmid Muvak of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Rebbe Michotkov was a Ish Kadosh, was a holy man. And when he was there at the time, he was in a Chotkov, was at the time a part of Poland, and today it's Ukraine. So when Israel went to visit his Rebbe, he cried to him. He told him, Rebbe, I don't know what to do. This poet, he hates us, he hates Jews, and he's only building this business to destroy me. He doesn't need the money. He's not interested in the business. The only reason behind what he's doing is simply to destroy me. The Rebbe Michotkov looks at this beautiful Jew. He's crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, coming to a Chacham, what do I do? And the Rebbe says to him, you have nothing to worry about. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings salvation to those that are being chased. Those that are being chased, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings them salvation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it protects those people that get chased. So him chasing you, by default, is opening the gates of heaven that are full of mercy, and salvation will come. And of course, Israel likes to, he says, I believe you, Rabbi, but what can I possibly do? I mean, the mill is going to be better quality than mine. The equipment is much better than mine. It's new. It's improved. I can't afford to compete with that. And on top of it, he wants to sell the flour for half the price. I mean, how could this be? Again, the Rebbe Michotkov very simply says to him, don't worry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's salvation is going to come to you. Because this evil man, he's not looking to do this for any good reason. He's doing evil for the sake of evil. So while he has plans to sell better quality flour for half the price, remember that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can make that better quality flour turn into bitter bread that's also black. Israel needed some type of connection between the blessing to a reality that he could visualize, and that's what he got. The rabbi said, Israel said Amen, and he went home with a lot of confidence. Boost of bitachon. Shortly after, the mill of the Poretz opens. Every single one of the customers that's been coming to Israel for years went to the Poretz, especially on the grand opening, with the exception of two of his friends that just because they're fellow Jews that loved their friend as well, they said, listen, we're going to pay double for yours just because we don't want to support this evil man, but you can't force everybody in the community to do the same. Meaning that both the Gentiles that hated the Jews and the Jews that liked Jews also looked out for themselves and went to get the better quality flour for half the price. The place was packed. People were taking sacks and sacks of flour. They came from different towns. Of course, the locals. And as you would have it, Israel is sitting there praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when his friends come looking to see their fellow Jew upset and crying, they see him praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a smile. They say to him, how could you be smiling in such a day? He says, the Rebbe said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring me salvation. I believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring me salvation. And he told him what the Rebbe said. Wow. Word got around and it got to the poets. When the poets heard that the Rebbe said that his flour is going to be black and bitter, he started laughing. Laughing at this Jew. You really believe that some rabbi can change nature? You really believe that my mill that's worth 10 times what his mill is really going to lose? What a joke these Jews are. And he started making fun of him. Started making fun of the Jew. A few days passed. People started using the flour for Shabbat. One of the women named Rivka took out the bread, and to her dismay, she saw that the same challah that she's been baking for over 20 years, the same delicious recipe, has changed. The outcome has changed. In front of her are loaves of black bread that's harder than the walls that are building our house. She has no idea what happened here. The rest of the family looks at the bread and did you do something different? She said, no, it's the same recipe for 20 years. Well, let's check with the neighbors. Let's see if they had any issues. They went to the neighbors and they found out that their cakes and their cookies and their bread was also black. Also like tar. Also unedible. And in fact, every single house that bought bread, brought the flour from this poets, saw the curse of the Rebbe come to life. Of course, everybody came back to this poets complaining, saying, listen, your flour, there's something wrong with it. Give us the money back. The poets, of course, he has to protect his own honor. He's a Ukrainian important person. He can't just tell people to go fly a kite. No, don't worry. I'm going to give you better. I'm going to go send my people to go buy even better quality flour, and I'm going to replace this one. You have nothing to worry about. But no matter what he did, and no matter how many times he changed the flour from different providers, the very same outcome came to life as he was losing his money, his reputation, and everybody saw a huge Kiddush Hashem in the middle of Ukraine, where the Rebbe said that the black bread is the flour is gonna be black bread, and that's what it was. This Ukrainian poet came on his knees begging Israel the Jew to please I beg you, become my partner. Go tell your Rebbe Michotkov to take off the curse. And in return, I'm going to give you a partnership in my mill for no money. Israel was a good man. And he said, listen, I can't decide anything. I have to go to my Rebbe. He went back to the Rebbe Michotkov. And Rav Friedman, the Rebbe, says to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the prophet, En shalom, Hashem amar l'reshaim. No peace, Hashem says to the wicked. Because his intentions were deeply rooted in evil, there is no way that a blessing can come upon him. And the curse will never come off. Sorry, no sorry, too late. Such a person cannot be forgiven. Such a person has to deal with the consequences. And that's what happened. That mill went bankrupt. That squire lost. And Israel not only built his business, but everybody now wanted to do business with him even more than before because they knew that he had the blessing from Shamayim. Now, of course, this is a fantastic, extraordinary story of the works of wonders of the tzaddikim of the previous generation. But it also tells us that not everything is the way it looks. Not everyone is always the victim that they seem to be. Not everything is 100% the way the media portrays for it to be. Now, I'm not telling anybody to pick a side, whether it be Ukraine or it be Russia. What I am telling you here is that you have to know the truth as far as what the Torah's perspective is. First and foremost, those of you that are spending your days and nights watching videos about some rabbi telling you this is the end of the world, this is Gog and Magog, the Mashiach is coming any day, stop it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us clear instructions of what that war will look like. And this is not it. If you want to see what it looks like, go to Zechariah chapter 14. Go to Yechezkel chapter 38. There's a reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu specified how the war will look like. Different things that will happen. The same as the Ramban says about Gehenom, where he says there's a reason why the sages detail to us the exact measurements of Gehenom, the 3 entrances to Gehenom, and the different details of the chambers that happen in it, to make sure that if a heretic with a long white beard and now a short black beard that seems yeshivish, that call themselves Hasidish, call themselves the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, and they tell you that there's no such thing as burning a neshama, because how can you burn a neshama? Ha ha ha! The Ramban 800 years ago says the Gemara already dealt with such apikosim, such heretics, where we have sages that clarify the entrance to Gehenom, the size of Gehenom, the type of fires that are in Gehenom, meaning that the day that the neshama was created was also the day that a special fire to burn it was created. So you do not believe the heretics, whether it be Manis Friedman or YY or any of the other Reshaim that are out there that are creating a new Torah. You're not going to believe any of those people that tell you that this doesn't exist, because we have our Torah and we're not changing it. No matter who and what decides to say what it is. We have our Torah, we have our tradition, we have our Masoret. We're not going to change it. Our Masoret is that Gog and Magog will look a specific way. There's going to be certain things that happen. Can this build up to be that? Of course it's possible that it can build to that. But is it right now? Absolutely not. Second thing you need to know. When it comes to these wars, it is a mistake for the Jewish people to pick a side, especially publicly. Whether you want to pick a side in your own mind, that's your business. But once a person starts expressing their opinion publicly, whether it be on the social media or articles and things of that nature, then whether you like it or not, the world will always view you as the representation of the Jewish people. Now, if you are Chinese and you wrote an article about how much you like or dislike Putin or his enemies, no one's really going to care. If you are from Turkey and you wrote a blog about how much you agree with this war, no one's going to care. If you are from Indonesia or Australia, or perhaps even from America, and you decided to write an article, a blog post, even a TV interview, to say about how much you agree or disagree, no one would care. But the moment that it's noticeable that you are a Jew, regardless of which part of the world you live in, you now become the representation of the Jewish people. Now, of course, Jewish people, you have 3 Jews, 4 opinions, maybe even 6. But the reality is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not want us to express these opinions because it's none of our business. Just like it wasn't the squire, the evil squire's business, to go into a business that he didn't belong in. Lehavdil million avdalot, a million of differences between this evil squire and the holy nation of Am Yisrael, but this is none of our business. For all of you that are out there saying, oh, but it's not fair that Putin is doing this, how could he do it? He's a terrorist, he should be killed. Habibi, relax yourself. Go spend some time reading history. And I'm not even talking about ancient history. History 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 60 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. How about this? All of history. This is how a Torahless nation operates. You have a dictator, leader, president, or whatever you want to call him, that has whatever he has and decides he wants more. Oh, but it's not fair. Go live in a different world then, Habibi. This is the way his world operates. He doesn't have spiritual ambitions to go and elevate his neshama, to go to heaven and serve mankind. He has an ambition to acquire more. Just like the Gemara in Masechet Sukkah says, you give him 100, he wants 200. You give him 200, he wants 400. You give him 400, he wants 800. Why does he want more as he gets more? Because that's his life. So while you may think that, let's say, Putin is the enemy, guess what? His people don't think that. They think, hey, he's going to get us some more security. See, look, Ukraine has been a long time enemy anyway, so it's not like they're going to attack their best friend. Number two, there are people that have a lot of resources. Russia is a big country, they need those resources. But you don't need them today, you could just buy them. Sure, I could just buy them, or I could just conquer the land. Yeah, but that's not fair. What do you mean it's not fair? That's how nations work. They go and conquer each other. They go and beat each other. And what do you think, that your country, wherever you may live, whether it be America or any other country, wouldn't do it if they had the opportunity? This is how a Torahless environment works. If they have the strength, they portray that strength. They use that strength to do what they want to do. This is no different than any other time in history. This is not justifying or supporting evil. This is just a reality that everyone has to come to terms with, and therefore expressing our so-called negative opinions or the condemning it. Oh, I condemn, we condemn him for doing such a thing. Who the hell are you that he's going to care about you? I don't understand people. Go mind your business. Go mind your business. What's your business? Your business is to serve Hashem. Your business is to serve Hashem. Because the Zohar Kadosh says to us, before one nation goes to war with another nation, they're sarim, they're angels. Each nation has an angel. Their angels first fight. And when they start fighting in Shamayim, they fight down here. And Am Yisrael needs to know, the only thing you should be concerned with when you hear that there are two nations at war is that it's time for you to do tshuva. Not to go write blog posts and express your opinion about who you think is going to win and whether America should get involved and whether China is none of this stuff matters. It's not your business. Your business is to do what the Torah says. The Torah says, do tshuva. That's it. We were supposed to do tshuva yesterday, the day before, a week ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, and forevermore, and forever after. This is how it works. Our job in the world is not to become the news. And in fact, when we express our opinions, whether we're supporting one side or the other, we are actually putting a target on our face. We are actually causing more harm than good, because no one's going to listen to you anyway. Putin is not going to stop the war because some rabbi decided to do a lecture about it to say that he condemns his actions. Needless to say, he's not going to stop it because some news network decided to write 15 different articles about it. He doesn't care about your opinion. In fact, it may actually ignite him to make things even worse. Furthermore, it's not your role in the world. It's not your role in the world to speak about these things publicly. Your role in the world is to speak Torah publicly, to share Torah publicly. You don't have any Torah to share? Then try being quiet. It's a very good trait. In fact, the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says in the Mishnah in Avot, I've lived among Chachamim my whole life, and I've learned many good things, but none of the things are as good as the lesson of how being quiet is beneficial for a person. If you're a fool, no one will know. And if you're smart, it allows you to acquire more wisdom because you're able to listen to wise people. But everybody decides to make videos and articles and we condemn and we support and we do this and we do that. Oh, because there's a big keilah there and there's a big keilah everywhere and there's a small keilah, and I promise you, nothing is what it seems like. Nothing is what it seems like. What they're doing over there is what people do when they're in that position. If you are a king of a country with endless supply of everything you possibly wanted, guess what? You'd probably want more too. Why? You'd rationalize it to secure the future, to be even a bigger power, and whatever other reasons people have for these crazy things. You would rationalize it too. Why? Because that's what leaders do. It's not saying that it's good. It's just simply saying it's a reality. To expect anything else is simply stupid and naive. And anyone that thinks that their own country, their own backyard, doesn't do it or wouldn't do it if they had the same opportunity is simply lying to themselves. This is simply a reality, Rabotai. And that's why we as Torah observant people have to stick our nose where it belongs. Our nose belongs in the Torah, nothing else. Don't waste your time watching the news. Don't waste your time going over the news. Don't become an expert of the news, because we've already fell for that Satan's trap over the last couple of years where people became obsessed about Corona. Then they became obsessed about the vaccine. Then they became obsessed about the conspiracy behind the vaccine. Now they're obsessed about these wars. I mean, don't you understand? These are all messages from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are all messages from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mind your business. Yeah, but there's Jews over there. Okay, so support them quietly. Why do you have to make such a big stink? You want to go support somebody? By all means, go support somebody. But you don't have to go do everything that they're doing every day, every 2 seconds. Somebody's saying they're condemning, they're this. Who are you? What do you think your role in the world is? I promise you, neither one of the leaders cares about your opinions. And the fact that it looks like, oh, yeah, but he did good. He came to the Kotel. Both of them did. Both of them had relationships that were relatively decent with the Jewish people at different times. Both of them have reasons to do whatever it is that they're doing. It's not our business. Simple. It's not our business. Our business, go serve Hashem. That's our business. Everything else, it's not our business. And by not our business, I'm not telling you, listen, go stop buying guns and going to fight the war. I know none of you are doing it. By not our business, what I'm saying to you is that every single minute you watch the news, you read the news, you obsess yourself with the news, is bitul Torah 100%, and that is bringing tragedy to the world. That bitul Torah, that waste of time, that's what's bringing tragedy to the world. Not Putin, not the other one, not this one, none of that. What's bringing tragedy to the world is people are not learning Torah. And instead they're watching the news. That's what's bringing tragedy to the world. So if you're so upset about their tragedy, stop causing tragedy yourself. Because the reality is, our role in the world is not to be politicians or newscasters. And anyone that tells you otherwise is simply doesn't know Torah or is simply a liar. I don't know what they are, but either way, this is what the truth is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu specifically told Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's parasha, and of course countless times throughout the Torah, how to do things, how to serve Him. In this week's parasha, Parashat Pekudei, chapter 39, HaKadosh Baruch Hu repeats the same thing in the Torah, and of course we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was very particular with not only the words that He included in the Torah, but to make sure that if anything is ever repeated, there is extraordinary amount of lessons to be learned from it. But yet He says the same thing multiple times within the same paragraph. Kasher tziva Adonai et Moshe. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. Kasher tziva Hashem et Moshe. As Hashem had commanded Moshe. As Hashem had commanded Moshe. Multiple times it's repeated. Okay, I get it, obviously. Who else is going to command Moshe? Who else is going to command Moshe? Of course it's Hashem. But why do you have to repeat it so many times? At least one small lesson we can learn is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what He wants. And He gave us instructions in order to make sure we know what He wants. He wants us to serve Him in a specific way. And the Rambam writes in his Yad Chazakah that there is no mitzvah in the world more important than learning Torah. Nothing is more important than learning Torah. No mitzvah supersedes Torah. So when a person spends their time wasting it, watching the news, becoming emotionally involved with the news, whether it be the virus, the vaccine, all this mumbo jumbo, you are in essence taking what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, you're simply putting it in the garbage, or in a nicer terms, in the closet, and you're going and playing with the garbage. Because that's what's happening today. People are consumed with the news and did not learn a single lesson of how people ended up losing their olam haba as a result of their obsession with the news in the last 2 years, where their obsession with corona and the vaccine led them to countless sins that they did not even imagine were possible, because they figured, what? I'm just watching the news to make sure what's going on is I know what's going on. What's so bad about knowing what's going on? What's so bad about knowing what's going on is because you're thinking that there's going to be something new under the sun. I don't know what's going on in the news. You know how I know that there is, bad stuff and this one and that one? Simple. The news doesn't change. Only thing that changes is the names. Arav Yagen Alav Shalom said it countless times in his lectures over the years, wrote it in his books. You don't need to read the news. Simply, it's the same news over and over again, just the names change. For thousands of years, it's the same news. Names change. Now it's this leader wants to kill that leader. Tomorrow it's going to be that leader trying to kill the other leader. Now it's this economy going up. And then it's going to be this economy going down. Now it's this trade, that trade. It's all the same thing. Shlomo HaMelech says, nothing new under the sun. You don't need to read the news. All you got to do is read the Torah and you're going to know the news. Read the Torah and you're going to know the news. So please, Rabotai, you have to stop causing damage to yourself, because the people that obsessed with Corona, some of them literally left Torah, left the world of Torah, left religiosity as a result of their obsessions with the Corona and the virus, and how they were disappointed with the rabbis that weren't supportive of the vaccine, or disappointed and disgusted with the rabbis that were against it or for it, whichever side they were in. There were crazy people on this side, there were crazy people on that side. And guess what? Both of those people have victims that literally have lost their olam haba because of those obsessions. I know firsthand people that literally became so obsessed, they became more active than the news networks. Because the news networks usually focus on their own stuff. These people, they made sure to watch and read all of the news, all of the networks. Oh, CNN says that, but Fox says that, but this other independent channel says that. but there's also several other independent channels in different countries, and it says this. Oh, did you watch Dr. Zelenko? And did you watch Dr. this one? And he's a Jew. Oh, he's not a Jew, but he's really smart. He has a PhD. He's a really big doctor. I never heard of him before, but it says on TV over there that he's a really big doctor. Oh, and did you see this guy's blog post? Oh, did you see that? Who cares about these things? Did any of these articles help anybody? Serve Hashem better in any way? Did any of these articles do anything positive for anybody? No. All it did is make people either look crazy or go crazy. And this is exactly happening again. The Gemara tells us, you see, there's a war, you have to realize it's a message from Shamayim. Not if you see there's a war against Am Yisrael. That's already a decree. That's already a decree. That already means that we didn't listen to the wars of the nation's message, to the tsunamis of the nation's message, to the earthquakes of the nation's message to tell us to do tshuva. When there's a war on us, chas v'shalom, that's already a decree. Right now, there are warning messages, countless warning messages. And if we do not roll up our sleeves and start realizing it's time for us to start learning Torah, to live by it, we're losing a lot more than we're gaining. What these nations are going to do, they're going to do. What we do will have much more impact than any tank. If we start doing tshuva seriously, stop lying about the basic principles of Jewish faith, such as schar ve'onesh, reward and punishment, stop distorting the Torah in order to appease people, start delivering the truth to people, we can bring peace. We can bring salvation. But if we continue watching and spreading the so-called news, I promise you, nothing good will come out of it. Not for the individual and surely not for the people. And all of these different campaigns and different things that people are doing, I promise you, it's something that you have to be very careful of. You have to be very, very careful of. I feel really bad when I see that there are so much corruption out there, and people, because of their naive hearts and emotional, driven decisions, they literally lose the only money they truly have.
Achashverosh, the Persian king, made a feast filled with bling. For his 3rd year of reign he did celebrate. The Jews came happily, they didn't even deliberate. The feast was simply a ball. Food and drink filled every hall. Hashem was angered by the reckless behavior. Haman's evil decree was punishment, so our evil actions would waver. Achashverosh had a ton to drink. Queen Vashti he wished to bring. But this was not her wish, and the king she did scorn. After all, she grew a tail and a horn. The blood of Achashverosh came to a boil. That's when the advisors came to toil, to decide what should be done with the queen who refused to come. The evil Haman, behold, his plan he so expertly did mold. To kill the queen he desired. This plan Achashverosh admired. Higher and higher Haman rose. A new law was proposed. All must bow to Haman on high. But Mordechai HaTzadik did not comply. King Achashverosh began his quest to find a queen who would be the best. Esther, Mordechai's niece, was taken and adorned with fleece. Haman's hatred for Mordechai did swell. All the Jews he wished to dispel. So Haman convinced the king to sign the wicked decree with his signet ring. The cries of the Jews filled the city. Our situation was truly a pity. Mordecai prayed and Esther dreaded, for approaching the king could land her beheaded. King Achashverosh sat in his yard. With beauty and grace he did regard his queen Esther at last. For her his scepter he did cast. To her own special feast Esther did invite the king and Haman, who was filled with delight. Yet when Mordecai refused to bow, this Haman did not allow. King Achashverosh made a request for Haman to give his best advice on how to reward a favor, but this honor Haman wrongly did savor. Since Haman believed the gift was for him, he conveyed his advice with a giant grin. You shall dress him in the king's royal robes, with the crown shall he parade the roads. Achashverosh commanded without delay, Haman shall create this grand display. For Mordecai, who was the one deserving, it was him who Haman would be serving. A second invitation Esther did extend for Achashverosh to attend. The queen begged at the feast that the decree against her nation be creased. At once the king did rule to hang Haman the fool. Poof went Haman's vicious decree. Of the Jews' victory Hashem did guarantee. Mordecai strode through town, looking so refined. Atop his head the king's crown did shine. This was not his only reward to reap, for Haman's house was his to keep. Haman's 10 sons we did hang. Our enemies were defeated with a big bang. That is why, to this day, we celebrate Purim in a special way. Mishloach manot we give to a friend, a special mishta we make sure to attend, and matanot lavyonim to the poor we send. We dress up as a queen, king, or sword in order for v'nahafochu to be restored.